I remember staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, absolutely exhausted, but too anxious to sleep. My phone was face down on the bedside table and I didn't want to turn it over because I knew there would be a message from the venue. A problem, a staff issue, a delivery that hadn't turned up, something that needed fixing, something that only I could deal with. If that sounds familiar, we need to talk. Because for a long time, I believed that working 80 hours a week was just the price you paid to run a successful restaurant. I thought if I wasn't consistently involved, consistently available, consistently on edge, then I wasn't doing it properly. I wore the exhaustion like a badge of honor. I told myself this is what commitment looked like, but I was wrong. Restaurant burnout doesn't come from caring too much. It comes from carrying too much for too long without the right structure beneath you. And no amount of grit or sacrifice fixes that. Welcome to the Lead Well channel, where we talk about leadership, well-being, and how to build a hospitality business that doesn't cost you your health, your relationships, or the sense of who you are. My name's Trevor. I've run a multi-award-winning restaurant and cocktail bar for the last 10 years, and I've lived in this cycle from the inside. What I'm sharing today isn't theory or motivational nonsense. It's what I've had to learn the hard way to stop burning out while still running a successful venue. For years, I thought burnout would be solved by a holiday, by pushing a little bit harder, by fixing one more problem. But the truth is, burnout isn't fixed by stopping work for a week. It's fixed by changing how the work works without you. So in this video, I want to give you 3 real steps that helped me stop restaurant burnout and rebuild work-life balance without the place burning down. These aren't quick hacks, they're shifts and they compound. Before we get into that, let me paint the picture honestly. In the early years of Oko Rocco, my entire identity was wrapped up in being needed. I was the fixer, the problem solver, the person everyone came to. If something went wrong, I stepped in. If someone was unsure, they waited for me. If a decision needed making, it sat with me. At the time, that felt like leadership. What it actually was a system that relied entirely on one person, and that one person was slowly breaking. My phone never stopped. I woke up and checked it immediately. Messages dictated my mood before I'd even brush my teeth. If there was a problem, my chest tightened. If there wasn't, I waited for one. I was never off shift. The business lived rent-free in my head 24/7. And slowly, quietly, the cracks started to show. I couldn't sleep properly. I was anxious. I was irritable. I started resenting the very thing that I'd built. I still loved the business, but I hated how it made me feel. I didn't burn out because the business failed. I burned out because it relied on me for everything. That realization was painful, but it changed everything. So let's talk about step 1. Step 1 is the system change. Burnout is usually a systems problem disguised as a workload problem. Read that again. Burnout is usually a systems problem disguised as a workload problem. Most owners think they're burnt out because they work too many hours, but the real issue is usually that everything routes through them. Decisions, problems, questions, approvals, fixes. You become the bottleneck without actually realizing it. In the early days, everything came to me. Staff wouldn't act without check-in, managers waited for approval. Small problems became big because no one felt empowered to solve them without me. And because I cared, I stepped in every time. That firefighting feels productive. It gives you a dopamine hit. You feel useful, needed, important. But what it actually does is create dependency. The system was broken, not me. And once I saw that, the shift became obvious, even if it was uncomfortable. I had to change the system so the business could function without my constant involvement. That meant delegation with clarity, not delegation with hope. I had to define what only I should be doing and what others could own completely, not help with, own. I had to create repeatable processes so decisions didn't rely on my mood or availability. I had to accept that things wouldn't be done exactly how I'd do them, and that was okay. And here is the hard truth. If the business can't function without you, the system is broken, not you. And when you talk about fixing burnout, the solution isn't less care, it's better systems. Step 1 is not about doing less, it's about building something that doesn't need you everywhere at once. Step 2, the boundary change. Burnout isn't just about hours worked, it's about never switching off mentally. For years, my day started with my phone, eyes open, phone in hand, emails, messages, problems. Before my nervous system even had woken up, I was already reacting. That one habit alone was destroying me. I thought I was being responsible. I told myself I needed to stay on top of things, but what I was actually doing was letting other people's urgency dictate my emotional state before I'd even had a chance to think. So I made a simple boundary change. I stopped checking my phone first thing in the morning. No emails, No WhatsApp, no notifications. Instead, I got up and I'd use the bathroom, I'd make a coffee, I'd sit in silence and do some breath work. Sometimes I'd just stare out the window. Sometimes I'd do nothing. But for 30 minutes, the business didn't get access to my brain. That small boundary changed everything. I was calmer, I made better decisions, I reacted less, I stopped starting the day already behind. This is where people push back. They say they can't do that. They say something might go wrong. They say they need to be available. But here's the truth. Your brain is addicted to urgency. That discomfort you feel when you don't check your phone isn't danger, it's withdrawal. You don't need more time off. You need protected time inside your day. Boundaries aren't about doing less work. They're about protecting your nervous system so that you can lead properly. Step 3 is the mindset change. This is the hardest part. Most restaurant owners burn out because they're stuck thinking like operators, not leaders. The operator mindset says your value comes from doing, from fixing, from being needed, from being everywhere. The owner mindset says your value comes from designing the business so it works without you. I was terrified of stepping back. I thought it meant that I was failing. I thought it meant I didn't care enough. I thought the team would lose respect for me. And what actually happened was the opposite. When I stepped back with intention, the team stepped up. They took responsibility, they solved problems, and they grew. And I finally had space to think. You are not your business. You are the person behind it. Your job isn't to hold everything together with your nervous system. Your job is to build something sustainable. And this is where systems, boundaries, and mindsets meet. Systems reduce the load, boundaries protect the energy, and mindset makes it sustainable. This is how you stop restaurant burnout without quitting hospitality. So here's the one thing that I want you to do. Tomorrow morning, leave your phone on silent for the first 30 minutes after you wake up. Use the bathroom, make a coffee, sit in silence, do anything except open your phone. Nothing will fall apart in those 30 minutes, I promise you, but something inside you might settle. Try it and let me know how you felt. I used to believe burnout was the price of success. I know now that it was the cost of not building the right structure. If you're tired, overwhelmed, or questioning whether this life is sustainable, you're not broken, you're just carrying too much of it alone. If you want to find out a little bit more about where your weak spots are, you can take my business and wellness quiz. The link's in the bio, so check it out. It's completely free, and it gives you a bit of a score and a breakdown on what areas you could do better with and what areas might need a bit of work. So it's definitely worth taking that. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a subscribe. It helps me, it helps the channel, and it helps people like us find the content that really matters. And as always, I'd love to remind you that you matter too. Don't forget that.